All right, guys, I'm here with Coach Dez. We're going to go over the best takedown system for beginners. Okay, so whether you're a white belt or blue, purple, brown, any practitioner that's looking to get into wrestling or learning takedowns, I'm going to show you this system here that I think everybody should start with. Okay, so it's not a double leg, it's not a single leg, no crazy uchimatas. All it is a simple body lock. Okay, so what the body lock is whenever I can get two hands around my opponent here. Okay, so you can do that from the front. I would call this a front body lock. Okay, or you can get that from behind your opponent, which would be a rear body lock. Okay, so let's talk about the front body lock first, just because that's probably the one that's most accessible from the beginning. Okay, so usually we'll get into this from like an over-under clinch, okay, where I have one underhook, one overhook. Okay, now in order to get to the body lock, we want to try to get two underhooks. Okay, so the way that I'm going to get my second underhook is that I'm going to create a little bit of a pushing pressure, right? I want to drive into my opponent so that I get a little bit of pushback. Once I feel that pushback or that grounding from my opponent, I'm going to use that momentum, okay? I'm going to do a little sidestep to off balance my partner here. Now, while I've squared up my partner here, okay, this gives me a little bit more space to pummel my second underhook. I'll show that from this angle, okay? So I ground, I push, I feel them pushing back. I'm gonna step this leg right next to my partner's front leg and pull. Now from there, right away, I pummel my second underhook, scoot to the left a little bit, okay? And then I get an S grip here. So now I have two underhooks. Okay, now from this position, most likely, or what your opponent should do, is pinch the elbows and start hinging the butt back, because Des wants to get that head underneath my chin and re-pummel here. Okay, but as soon as I feel the hips come back, okay, I'm going to take a big step, I'm going to shuck, and I'm going to get into our front body lock position. Let's rotate here. Okay, now this is where the system starts. Okay, now the first finish we're looking to do. Okay, notice how I have an S grip here from when I had two underhooks. Okay, I'm going to transition that S grip all the way to a forearm grip here. So the progression of the grips, you can go S grip, gable grip, and then forearm tie right here. Okay, so from the gable grip, if you just slide your hands to the forearms here, that's ideal. So now watch what happens to Dez's body as I slide to a forearm grip here. Notice how my posture and my whole body drives into my opponent here. So I go S grip, okay, bring my elbows to my ribs, and we slide into the forearm grip here. Okay, now this leaves us in a good position for our first finish, okay? Naturally, when I bring myself to my opponent, they're going to want to stand upright. So I'm going to take my left foot, step in front of my opponent, and I'm going to drive up with my knee to bump the hips. Now, as soon as my opponent lands, I'm not just landing any way I want to take that wrist out right away, and you could underhook the leg to secure the position. Okay, so one more time. From the front body lock position here, I enter with the S grip. Look at how I'm in a good staggered stance here. Okay, I'm going to slide the S grip to a forearm grip. Okay, while I do that, okay, think of it as like a rowing motion. You're bringing your chest onto your partner versus pulling them in. Okay, here, drive my chest in, big step with my rear leg in front, and then I'm just going to go with a high knee here, look. Boom, here. Step, bump. Okay? Body lock, drive, step, bump. Okay, now as I set them down, okay, if they post that hand on the ground, right away we're looking for the wrist control, and we're looking to underhook that leg right away. Okay, so that's the first one. Now, let's just say I'm going against someone bigger. I get the position, but obviously, okay, I can't get the lift. Okay, so if I'm here, same thing, S grip, forearm grip, I can't quite get the lift, or maybe I can't quite get the forearm grip as deep as I want it because my opponent is bigger than me. Okay, now the variation I'm gonna go for is just a simple knee bump. Okay, so I'll scoot forward a little bit. Okay, so I'm here, I try to slide in. Let's imagine Dez is really big, and I'm like, man, I can't get any tighter. Take a look at my lead leg here. I'm just going to pivot my foot to bump the knee, and then I shuffle back. Right away, again, we're looking for that wrist, driving, and we underhook. One more time. Do it from this angle so you can see. Okay, so I'm here. I try to slide to the forearm grip. I can't get a tight grip, or they're too heavy to lift. So look at how I bump the knee. Okay, and I almost take, okay, a little shuffle step here, then right away, looking for the wrist. Okay, underhooking the leg. Okay, now, those are the main finishes from just a basic body lock. Have to have those down, right? Now let's kind of talk about what our opponent can do when we get that initial body lock, okay? So the most common reaction, okay, is my opponent's gonna get a tight overhook. You guys see how Des has her arm here? Now what she's gonna do with that overhook, she's gonna kind of get in her leg, she's gonna squat, and she's using that to wrench my shoulder forward. Notice how this prevents me from getting a tight grip around her waist. Okay, this also opens up for those big throws, right? Like a Uchimata, boom, here. Okay, or just the leverage to bump my hip so she could square up. Okay, she could bump my hip and then get like a front headlock or a tie up of her own. So the way we're gonna counter that, okay, as soon as I get into my body lock, the biggest feel or the sign that you're gonna feel when they're using that overhook is you're gonna feel some pulling motion forward. Okay, so as I go to adjust my grip, I'm feeling that lean forward. So what I wanna do is counteract it by leaning back. Okay, but I have to correct my feet first. So again, let's just say I just enter the body lock. Right away, I feel that tension on the shoulder. I feel the pull. I'm gonna take a big step in with my lead leg. So like a big step in and my hip's gonna come back. Okay, these are very micro movements. So when you do it live, it's not gonna be as exaggerated as this. But basically you wanna bring your hips in and lean back, okay? The second thing you're doing, okay, you're gonna let go of the body lock. Your hands are gonna go to the hip and to the inside of the knee. Okay, now the hip grip is gonna pull back. The grip on the inside of the knee is gonna rotate forward. You guys see that? So it's pull back, rotate forward here to lift, okay? So as soon as I feel that wrench, big step pull, notice the off balance. Okay, now I'm gonna switch my feet, step, step. Now we're in that same position to collect the wrists. Here. Let's do it from another angle. So I'll do it from behind. So I'm trying to slide to my forearms. I feel that wrenching pressure forward. I step in, pull, pull, step back, wrist, underhook. Okay, again, this is a exaggerated movement because you're kind of gonna do all of these in one motion. So I'll kind of do it slow, but in one motion here. I drive forward, I feel the wrenching pressure, boom. Here, rotate. Okay. There's also more on that in our underhook series video we posted earlier from, okay, over-under position. So if you guys want to see more options from that specific position, I recommend going back and watching that video. But again, this is like the fundamental one if you're a beginner. Okay, so again, from this position, I go for the cutback, is what this move is called. I go for the cutback. Okay, so partner kind of loosens up on that overhook and they kind of settle their weight. Okay, now from here, all I'm gonna do is shoulder shrug, and then hinge forward to shuck behind. Okay, now we're in the rear body lock, which is the last part of this system. Okay, now the idea behind a rear body lock, you almost wanna treat it just like the front body lock, okay? If you can with your hands, okay, if you can slide to a forearm grip, okay, if you could slide to the forearm grip, we're gonna step, okay, in front, or step behind, excuse me, and then our leg in front is gonna bump the knee forward as we lift. Here, I'll lift again. So we're here, boom, I get hips in, big step behind, look, and I'm gonna bump. Opponent lands on all fours right away. We're breaking them down. Okay, one more time. So I'm in the front body lock. Okay, I go to the cutback. She loosens up. I could feel them loosen up on that overhook. So let me see the hand. You kind of feel that relax a little bit. So we shoulder shrug, bump forward here. Right away, S grip. Okay, I'm going to step behind, bump, and then my partner can just land all fours. Boom. here, okay? Probably on the knee, we break them down. Okay, and finish. Okay, now like the first one. Let's just say we can't get to our S grip. Des is doing a good job of getting her elbow in. Okay, so she's threatening the lock here. That elbow could eventually be an escape out here. So, okay, I'm gonna keep the S grip. What I'm gonna do now is bring my knee in front of my partner's knee, and I'm just gonna hinge forward to the quad pod here. Again. First one, I was able to get the S grip. I'm sorry, the forearm grip. This time she's fighting the hands, she's got elbow in, so I bring my knee in, and we hinge forward. Now from here, we continue to break down from the quad pod to get them to turtle, okay? Now the last one. Maybe my opponent's really responsible. So if Des has the rear body lock, they're reacting by blocking my knees. This would be a very smart reaction in that Des can't, all those finishes require her to step one leg forward, right? Or bring her hips in, okay? So if our opponent is giving us this reaction, okay, hips back, what we're gonna do is we're gonna circle back behind. You guys see how I bring my hips back? So here she could feel my knees. I'm in danger of switches. So I wanna bring my hips back, okay, and I'm gonna step on the heel as I pull the hips back. Okay, now I'm not counting on bringing her all the way to the ground, although sometimes they will go. I'm gonna show first what happens if they fall. Second, what happens as an off balance. So first one, if I time it right, I pull the hips back, and then I catch. Right away, we're looking for the wrists. Okay? Against people with a good foundation, a good stance, most of the time you're not going to be able to cut them all the way back to their butt, but what you will cause is an off balance so that you could go back to a forward finish. Okay, so I'm here. Des is blocking my knees. I circle back. I step, but she doesn't fall. She stays, boom. Then I can connect to the first one. Okay, so I just use it as an off balance if my opponent is giving the reaction of blocking my knees. One more time. So I'm here, right, I run back. See how my hips are forward? I don't want to stay here, okay, because then she could switch. I run my hips back, so my chest is right behind the butt here. Big step, step on the heel, pull. She keeps her balance, now I can go lift. Okay, or you can go to any of the forward finishes. Okay, so again, this is the best system you guys can do as a beginner trying to learn takedowns is the body lock system. These three positions. So front body lock here, okay? We can call this like the single leg or cut back position, and then rear body lock. Okay, so real quick, how can you guys apply this, or like, what would this look like in a round? Okay, so if you were training this, what I would do, grab a partner, start in the body lock first. Have your partner try to give you a couple of those reactions. Des isn't gonna try to throw me, especially if you're a beginner. Don't have them try to blast you or anything. Just have them give you a little bit of base and use that overhook. So now you're gonna have to learn how to apply all of these finishes or connect the finishes, okay, while you're under a little bit of resistance, okay? Now, if you're starting from the open, remember I said we would get into this position from the over-under. Now, how could you find this? You're like, all right, what if I'm going against a wrestler, right? Someone who likes to shoot. How am I gonna even get in the over-under position? Okay, very simple. Okay, look at my stance. Choose a stance, whatever stance you like, okay? I'm generally a right leg lead. Okay, I'm gonna keep my right hand low here. Okay, I'm gonna slightly blade my shoulder. Okay, in this left hand, it's almost kind of like a boxing stance. You can leave it a little bit high by your face. Okay, because regardless of the stance, let's just say Des is in a right leg lead because most people will be. Okay, I have this right leg low here. Okay, that way, just in case Des shoots in on me, she shoots right into an underhook. Now I'm in over-under clinch. I keep this hand by my face because if she goes to collar tie with that rear hand, okay, I'm already blocking and I could just punch through for an underhook. Okay, same with if she tried to collar tie with the other hand, okay, I could just crowd in with my hips and dig for an underhook. So just the way that I stand, if you guys just stand like this, bladed, and you just crowd your opponent, it's natural that you guys will end up in this type of clinch, okay? Even if Des switched her stance, it would be the same thing. If I stay here Notice she wants to reach and collar tie here, but now she exposes an entry to go in. So it's actually very simple to get to. You just have to work the position. So again, if you guys want to put these techniques or this system into play, I guarantee, or I recommend that you start in the over-under, already start connected, do little drills where your partner is giving you looks. That way you get that feel, and then start from distance and just try to clinch into that over-under position. Cool. All right, guys, so that's our beginner system. I recommend you try it out, really watch it. If you guys are more advanced and you want to see more options from that, go ahead and go back to our underhook system video where we have a little bit more options given more advanced reactions. Cool, thanks for tuning in, guys.